This is Pathfinder, 2nd edition, my end. This is the original 2nd edition version of Pathfinder, which was remastered into the player's core and to the GM core. Why am I putting a Pathfinder, which is a very, very crunchy game, on an OSR related channel? Well, because I'm running Pathfinder at the moment, a game of Pathfinder, and whilst I enjoy it, I am noticing there are incredible crunchiness to this game set. And if we compare it to, for example, White Box Fantastic Medieval Adventure Game, which I think is hilariously, that's why I chose it, because it's hilariously, look at the size difference, hilariously small and brief compared to it, or an OSR game. What do we know the hallmarks of OSR games are? Simplicity, sort of making rules up on the spot, very fast combat, deadliness, and all of that jab was in a nutshell. Rulings, not rules, and everything like that. If you compare that to this, I mean, take a look at this. So just for example, I mean, obviously, all as you'd expect from a newer type of game, and if you're an OSR player, just bear with me for a minute. I just want you to see this. If we go to page 241, I believe it's 240. Yeah, this is around the skills sections. This is what I wanted to show you for an example of complexity of Pathfinder. Say you want to you want a balance on a ledge. There's a rule for balancing. You want to tumble through someone's legs, pass through them. There's a rule for tumbling through. You want to maneuver whilst you're flying. There's a specific rule for maneuvering whilst you're flying. You want to squeeze. There's a specific rule for squeezing through tight spaces. There's a specific rule for borrowing a spell off another wizard. Obviously, there's a rule for climb, but I mean, as obvious, there's a there's a rule for force opening things, grappling, high jumping, long jumping, shoving, swimming, tripping, disarming, repairing, grafting, and everything has got a specific rule to, and we can go on and on. If you can think of it, there's probably a rule for it. I mean, well, within reason, of course, but there's a rule for demoralizing someone. There's a rule for requesting, coercing. Whereas in a game like this, you might just say roll a dice 6, roll high, or roll low, whatever your preference is, or you might roll the d20, roll under an ability modifier if you're a bit more new school and naughty. But you might ask for that. In a game like Pathfinder, the rules are codified like hell. Like I'm not joking. There is a rule for it, and it's not just success and failure. Maybe if you roll a 20 is correct. There's degrees of success, and maybe sometimes if you succeed in something, you still haven't properly succeeded in it, and you need a critical success to do it properly. And combat encounters and things like that, they are actually sort of really well sort of set out. But before that, treasure is very specifically allocated per party level. Your party's level 1. Well, the total value of gold that they should get is 175 gold pieces. Oh, they're level 2. Well, now they need 300 gold pieces for this. It doesn't have to be exact, but around that, or you're going to break the balance of the game. The party levels have to, this is for combat and XP awards, the party have to face monsters around a certain XP, or it will break the balance of the game. The party's bonuses, even, which is on a certain page which I don't have, but they should get a +1 sword by 3rd level at least, and they shouldn't have a bonus to their damage, just the bonus to the attack by that level. They should get a skill progression by about 4th level, give a +1 to one of their skills. They should have armor by about 5th or 6th level, but you can't give it to them too early because it'll break the balance of the game. You can't give it to them too late because they'll be totally outclassed. So when you run Pathfinder, you've got to know how much gold I can give my players, how much bonuses to certain attacks that they need. You've got to know it all, and whilst you can play around with it a bit at a level, compared to this, where you just pretty much give what you want when you want, and it's great just to do as you will and make up on the spot. This is so codified that I would argue that for a newer dungeon master, it can be quite difficult. For an experienced one, and I like the crunch of this, actually, as something in its favor, I would say. It's nice to have a rule for everything. I don't have to worry, am I doing this wrong? It's nice to have a rule for tumbling through if I want to tumbling through. It's nice to have a rule for shove, but sometimes you adjudicate them as written, and then you think, oh, I could have just hand waved that and it would have probably been better. And sometimes I don't, and sometimes I think actually I like this. But I find Pathfinder is harder to hand wave because of the reliance on balance, which is inherent in the game. And for example, with combat in Pathfinder, there are a lot of there's it's very map orientated with Pathfinder. It's very I suppose you wouldn't have to if you really didn't want to play it on a combat map or anything like that, but that it does, it does rely on, like, look at this area effects for certain types of damage, so you're very particular in the type of damage things are taking on a map. So it's good for online play, I'd say, and if you've got some tokens of bursts in on face-to-face play. In fact, we played this on Roll20, so it's actually quite good to play. And we played a 4th edition game previously that I ran just for one shot, which worked very well on Roll20. And I say Roll20 like Pathfinder Vets. Go, no, you've got to use Foundry. They've got an almost obsession with using Foundry because Foundry's the best, and you can't run it on Roll. Well, I run it on Roll20 because it's easy for everyone just to open a web page, mate. Get over it. Anyway, so playing the game of Pathfinder again is very much on positioning. So talking about this, it's about flanking your enemies. It's about pushing and shoving your enemies away. It's about, because it's got that 3-action economy, every turn you get 3 actions. You could move 3 times, you could attack 3 times, but you'd be at a minus for every attack that you do. You could move, attack, and then you could do that demoralize action. But that demoralize action where you scare someone is an action. It's not a free action where you just shout at someone, oh, sod off your git or whatever, or just like, I'm going to rip your face off, and you scare them. No, that is an actual action. Actually looking at a creature and trying to decide if it's got any weaknesses, do I recognize this creature, is one of those 3 actions. In fact, nearly everything you could do by dropping a weapon quickly to draw another one is an action. Mind you, if you were to drop a weapon, that's a free action. If you were to draw another, that's one of your 3 actions. Nearly everything costs an action. So some people might see that as a strength, some people might see that as a weakness. Again, icon key, you've got single, 2 actions. Some actions cost more than 1 action, some cost all 3, some cost 1 action, and everything like that. Pathfinder is so codified, it's almost not funny. Again, we've got more actions that you can do in combat. Aid, crawl, delay, drop, prone, escape. You can do all these in this game, and you can do all these in this game. More coming on Beneath the Sunken Catacombs soon, which might I suggest, cheeky, if you look it up, it's on Amazon. It's about £8 in my country. Very good game. I'll tell you more about that in another video. Anyway, but if you look at it, these other games cover it, but this codifies it, and it codifies it properly. And I would say this is like the polar opposite to what OSR is in a way. Like, if OSR is the ultimate in a freeform, some might say 2 freeform. I don't. I love it. This is the total opposite. This is structure, structure, structure. And I would say people that need structure and like structure in their life, and would actually really enjoy this. If you're the sort of person that really needs things set out in a way that they're set, and this is the way they have to be, then this is like a good game for that. If you need structure in your life, this is brilliant. If you hate freeformness and you don't like, well, that rule seems a bit off, and why have you done that, and why are we making it up, don't play OSR style games, mate, because you might not like them as much. Though some are more structured than others, I must say. This is the most extreme freeform version. This one's a bit more structured, and other ones are structured still. Whereas this is going to structure your life away, because it's got rules for what you can do even in downtime. Everything is structured. Combat, just everything is structured. To have crafting. If you do downtime activity to make some gold out, the dungeon master can't just on the fly say, yeah, you were a bouncer at the local bar for the night. The bartender gives you 4 gold pieces. Now you've got to roll on a dice and see how well you did, and you've got to follow a table which tells you how much gold you can get at that level. We happen to be on the character wealth level, how much wealth characters should have by certain level. Again, structure, structure, structure. So what is my final verdict on Pathfinder versus the OSR? Well, honestly, I like both. I do. Sometimes, my friend said, sometimes you just want some of that crunch. And as an ex-war gamer, this is good for that crunch. But as somebody that loves and who grew up on 1980s D&D, well, this and other OSR games are available, of course. That feels that it's far more for me, and they are just totally different games with very similar, you know, hoods on, covers are on, but at the end of the day, they're exceedingly different games. Would I recommend both? I wouldn't recommend this if you like freeform at all. It's way too structured. I wouldn't recommend this if you like structure. It's way too freeform. If you want somewhere in between, I don't know, Castles and Crusades is a good option. D&D 5th edition, blasphemy, I know, is a good option. Oh, dare I say it, Shadowdark or Dungeon Crawl Classics are also good options as well. But anyway, good game, maybe a bit over the top in crunch. And that's a very brief, sorry if I've insulted anyone that likes Pathfinder. I seem to have insulted people that like Shadowdark in my last video, but I stand by it. Overhyped, but still a good game. As with this, I think it can be overhyped on the And one more thing I might say about Pathfinder: if you go on the Reddit forums and ask questions about this, be prepared to be belittled sometimes. Like, oh, I can't believe you don't know that. Oh, why have you asked? Have you even read the rules? Like, you ask for clarity on the rules. Have you even read the rules? And you're like, well, yeah, I have read the rules. That's why I'm asking for clarity on it. Whereas Shadowdark or Dungeon Crawl Classics or nearly any other game you ask for advice on, people are like, yeah, mate, let me help you out. This forum on Reddit, terrible. Not everyone by a long shot, but a lot of people. Goodness me, I don't get it. Anyway, catch you later. Bye bye.